Any questions?
How the hell do you get 4 gold medals? I think that's
That's not a text question.
yeah.
My question again goes back to options. How do you value options and whether the options, if I issue options to employee 1 and options to employee 2, do the valuations between the two have to be the same? I know that I can vary the numbers of options, but the value of the options at different times, would they be the same or different, given that we aren't trading the options yet? I just don't know.
Right.
how-
Right. And options are often. Oh, I see. You go ahead. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Is that working? Yeah, there we go. So I guess, the value of an option is essentially the delta between the exercise price and the fair value of the share. So the magic around the grants is, what do you think your company's worth? What would a share be worth today if I was going to actually sell a share to the guy? Or what do I think it's going to be worth in a year? And so the real advantage to your employee is that I'm going to be able to buy shares. And first of all, I'm motivated to see the value of the company increase because I get the option now. The exercise price is, say, 10 cents. If I work really hard and I value the business, and hopefully in a year a share is going to be worth 20 cents. So my value on that is going to be the delta, is at 10 cents. So when you're a private company and you're not getting arm's length valuations done, it's a little bit more art than science, quite frankly. And the strike price at which you attribute to options when you grant them, can it differ from an employee to employee? Sure, but I think employees talk, so you want to be, again, back to transparency and fairness, and even I think it's important to talk a little bit about to the people that are going to be the recipients of the option grants is, how did you come to that value? Why do you think that for example, people aren't really excited about getting options. Options are often underwater when you issue them. So the hope is all that the company is going to appreciate the value. They're going to become in the money options. So it's really a balance of you want to incent people to stick around. You want to incent people to create value in the business. So as I said, it's a bit more of an art, a dark art. I don't know, Nancy, if you got more to add to it there's rules that maybe you can talk. I don't know if it's relevant when we talk about valuing them in the public context, because there are rules on
expensive. We use the Black-Scholes model to value them, and we expense them on the financial statements. I don't know if that's.
Sorry, I didn't hear clearly.
Yeah, there's when you talk about valuation of stock options, for public companies, they have to expense the value using the Black-Scholes formula, right? to value the options, and I guess deduct them as an expense. But then there's also the value of the options to the holder.
And you can't. And I don't think you can issue options with a strike price below a certain discount of fair market value.
Yeah, for public companies, I don't know if it's for public or different for private, but yeah, if you issue a stock option at an exercise price below fair market value, then there's a tax trigger right away. But if you do it at fair market value or higher, then you don't have like an immediate tax issue. I don't know if private companies is different or not.
I don't think there is, only because it's so difficult to determine valuation, because you can do
how
market.
do you it's easy for a public company to value.
Yeah. But just remember when you're putting options out there that they are ultimately dilutive. So again, I don't give them away like candy, and be very disciplined about sit down with your accountant and kind of model it out. When you do, if you're going to have a discipline around valuing your business on a regular basis, it's much easier to then design your option exercise price model. But it's hard to do unless you've got a really good sense as to what the value of your business is. You want to add anything to that?
No, that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions? It's time already. Anyway.
It's time. Oh, one more, go ahead.
Yeah.
sir.
I have a quick question. You had said before that when most people start a company, it will first begin as a sole proprietorship before they begin to turn it into a corporation. But there have also been times when I've heard where corporations want to become back as a sole proprietorship. So what's the difficulty of turning it back into a sole proprietorship, and why would they?
You can't, really. I
Or you
mean,
could sell the assets
you can
back.
sell the assets back,
Like it.
right. You can transfer all the assets of the business to you, and you could own them as a sole proprietor. But you can't essentially, I mean, you can't convert, I mean, basically, you just have to sell the assets. That's the only way you could do
Which
it.
may trigger like taxable events too, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so you might, I mean, if you wanna, if you're selling it to an individual who wants to be a sole proprietor of those assets, presumably, you're gonna be selling the business at more than what the depreciated cost of those assets is. So if those assets were originally $1 million and you've depreciated them down to $500,000, but the business is worth a lot, there's a bunch of goodwill's been generated, and you wanna sell it for $2 million, well, you're gonna have to pay what's called recapture, which is all of that depreciation expense you took, you gotta pay tax and all that. So it's very uncommon that you would do that. Typically, if people are gonna sell their business, they wanna do it on as tax effective basis as possible. And you can often, if certain companies are eligible for a tax-free rollover, so if there any gain that there might have been that might be crystallized on the sale, you can defer it. And so the buyer takes the shares at the, well, it's getting a bit complicated, but you can basically defer the gain under certain circumstances, because there are certain rollovers under the Income Tax Act. But it would be very unusual that a corporation would sell the assets to an individual, because in most circumstances,
It would be probably
It'd be-
you'd just buy the shares of the company.
you'd
if
just
they
buy
wanted that
the,
person
you'd probably
to
just buy the
build
shares,
a
yeah.
business.
And then you'd be the sole owner.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I owe an apology to Ramesh Sangani because I had provided for him to speak here today. That's one of our participants. We're having this new thing that we are calling one participant and speak 5 minutes, so we're doing away with that today. And thank you so much, Craig, Nancy, Suresh. What's a pleasure it's been, and what a wonderful session. And we'd certainly like to do another session with you, Craig. And as a token of our appreciation, please.
Thank you very much. And I'm so sorry, I hope we didn't steal time for you. I'm embarrassed if we did.
No, you didn't.
No
Nancy.
problem.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you come next time to visit
Sorry.
to my.
I would like to hear it. I will be there. Well, thank you very much, Lily.
And Suresh.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Well, very strictly, the next session is on leveraging your network. It will be at PwC Tower. You will be receiving individual mails regarding that. Please do register. And session thereafter is on cash flow management, which is on November 24th. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you again. Greg.
Thank you.
See soon.
Thank you.